Why was it important to you to be involved in creating Full Circle?
It was important because it was an opportunity to tell a story that needed to be told, because it was an opportunity to shed light on some unbelievably talented people that have worked really hard to overcome adversity and to learn to grow from tragedy and not be held back by it.
Did you enjoy directing it?
Absolutely. I mean, again, this was a story that needed to be told, and I feel very fortunate that the opportunity landed in my lap, if you will. And um, yeah, I feel like I spent my entire career honing my skills to be able to tell the story and make this film. So I'm very glad for the opportunity and really enjoyed it.
Is directing something you want to do more of in future?
100%. Directing is definitely something that I want to continue. In fact, I very much like to make another feature doc. I've been bitten by the bug, so to speak, and I don't know what the next project is, but I'm definitely going to be looking to do another feature doc. I'm just going to find something that I want to spend 4 or 5 years of my life working on.
What messages do you want people to take away from the documentary?
I think there's so many messages that we'd like people to take away, but I think that the most important one is that he, there is a quote halfway through the film from one of the protagonists, Barry Corbett, who was writing about his own experience with a spinal cord injury and speaking to other people also in the spinal cord injury. And his statement was, "You can be okay if you choose to be okay." And that's something that's really resonated deeply with me. And I think that's very much that the thesis of Barry's work and Barry's writing and the message that Barry was trying to communicate is that everybody has the power and the opportunity to define how, I mean, very specifically how their disability impacts their lives. But it's a message that I think really speaks to people beyond disability, and it speaks to people that everybody struggles with something. And I think that we all have the choice that we can learn and grow from the difficulties that we face, and we can be okay if we choose to be okay.
What are your favorite moments from this documentary?
One of my favorite moments from the documentary is in what we call the heli skiing scene, where we take Trevor heli skiing with a group called CMH up in interior BC in Canada. And Trevor's talking about how skiing has given him back freedom. It's given him the opportunity to feel, well, feel free, but feel unlimited in his potential and his capability. And Trevor is a very charismatic person with a truly incredible laugh, and we have a microphone on Trevor. And as he's skiing down through these epic, beautiful mountains, you just intermixed with his voiceover talking about what skiing means to him, you can just hear him laughing live and in the moment while he's skiing. And it's something that every time we screen the film for people, it gets a very intense reaction. It really speaks to people in so many ways, whether or not they've had that shared experience of skiing and know exactly what he's talking about. The feeling that he's having and the feeling that he's communicating comes across really well, and that's certainly a standout for me.
Do you think it is a problem that people find disability negative unless they find some super inspirational story?
You know, I mean, that's one of the things that we were really trying to be careful about in making our film. I mean, Trevor is obviously pushing the boundaries in sit skiing, of an athletic endeavor in a way that I mean strikes many people as kind of pushing the envelope in high risk, if you will. And that's one of the reasons that we wanted to bring Barry's story into the mix and really showcase his writing and use his viewpoints to illustrate that you can redefine yourself in so many ways. And I think that Barry's story shows his achieved level of success post injury and post disability in a way that really nicely compares and contrasts with Trevor, where Trevor started out as a plumber and, to be honest, a pretty mediocre snow sports athlete. He reinvented himself in a way that he became a professional skier and is obviously pushing the limits. Barry, on the other hand, began his career in his 20s as this superstar athlete. I mean, he was an adventurer, an explorer, and a mountaineer that had few peers at that point in time. And post injury, he redefined himself as a writer and as a filmmaker and a community leader, spreading the message of hope and helping people to redefine what was possible, regardless of what that meant to them. And that's something that I think is really important that we're trying to communicate in our film.
Were there any challenges in creating this documentary?
I could talk to you all day about the challenges that we faced creating this documentary. For one, really trying to figure out how to weave together two very different stories. That obviously Trevor and Barry's stories have these connections across space and time and on the surface, and you watch the finished film and it makes a lot of sense. But for us to get there was a tremendous challenge. And figuring out how to weave these stories together in a way that would really make sense to the audience and um, really elevate both of them. Because I will say that on his own, Trevor has an amazing story. Separately, Barry on his own also has an incredible story, and we were very careful in how we approached it. And I was worried that until the very end of the project that we'd be taking away from either of them. But I feel like the end result was pretty successful in our ability to weave the two stories together. That was the biggest challenge. But I could talk to you all day about logistical challenges, and actually, I will talk about that briefly. Um, I made ski films for 20 years straight before I was introduced to Trevor, and we kicked this project off. And I traveled the world and worked with some of the most incredible able-bodied athletes in some of the most incredible locations. And what it got to the point where it was kind of stale, because you'd been there, done that kind of thing. And working with Trevor, everything old became new again. And it was actually a very welcome challenge, because all of the things that Trevor wanted to do had never been done. And it helped me really push myself and lean on the knowledge base that I built up over a long time. But everything was a new challenge. And actually that's one of the reasons it was so exciting.